Welcome. I'm very excited to be with you all here at the Twitter 101. For those of you who were with us last time, we had a Twitter activism webinar co-hosted by American Majority and the Family Foundation, and we decided that we wanted to do something similar but a little bit more basic to just give you the step-by-step instructions as to how to set up an account and where to go from there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. Alrighty. Okay, we are very thankful once again that the Family Foundation has sponsored this webinar. They have been excellent to work with. I'm going to jump on over to their slide right after this. My name is Aubrey Blankenship, and I have been on Twitter, as you can see there, since March of 2010. Right down here, each Twitter account actually lets you see how long the user has been there. So for those of you who are going to join today, that will say July 2014, very exciting. I have been with American Majority for a little over 2.5 years. I'm communications director and do a lot of online communications, and I'd just like to share some basic tips with you today. This is the Family Foundation. Their motto is strengthening families in Virginia by applying founding principles and faith to policy and culture since 1985. And I have been working with Roger Pogge, who has really helped set these webinars up, and I'm very thankful for what they're doing here in Virginia. Our national office is also in Virginia, and I want to point you right now to this area down in the left-hand part of your screen. Oops, there we go. And this will show you the Twitter handle for American Majority, Twitter handle for the Family Foundation, and then my personal Twitter handle. So that will always be there if you want to tweet at me, tweet at American Majority, or tweet at the Family Foundation as we go through. Doug, I see that you're asking if the slides will be available. Yes, they will, as well as a recording. A little bit about American Majority. Go ahead and chat in the window if you have or have not heard about American Majority prior to this webinar. Always interested to see who is on the webinar with us. All right, lots of familiarity. Okay. So far, 100%. Excellent. I love to see that. Okay, one or two of you have not. One of you follows us on Facebook and Twitter. Excellent. Hopefully by the end, everyone will. American Majority has been in existence for 6 years, and we are a political training organization. So we train people to run for state and local offices. As you can see here, we have 850 plus training events in the past 6 years. We've been in 45 states, trying to get to all 50, but we'll see what happens. Alaska's kind of far away. We've almost trained 30,000 individuals. Many of those are activists. Some are candidates running for office, and then others are college students. And as you can see there, we have almost 3,000 political candidates trained. We have our activist training, social media, campaign, and campus training. If you're at all interested, please go to our website. We do trainings. We really, our expertise is in-person trainings, so webinars are something new for us, and we're excited to dabble in this as well and try to reach out to more people who can't attend an in-person training. This is the Twitter, the Twitter profile for American Majority. AM_national is our handle or our username. We'll get into definitions if those confuse you. And today's agenda, I always like to start with something clear so you know where we are, where we're headed. Basically, Twitter basics. We'll teach you, just go through the basics of setting up an account, how to manage your security and settings, learn the basic definitions such as tweet, retweet, mention. If I'm talking in terms that you don't understand throughout it, feel free to chat me. I will be explaining throughout the webinar, so hopefully it will become more and more clear. how to use a hashtag, what hashtags to use, things like that, and then how to follow and also attract followers yourself. Since we know social media is inherently social, it's about interacting person to person, so you don't just follow people, they follow you back. You don't just have people follow you. There are Twitter accounts out there where they only follow one person and they have thousands following them, but I think they're missing the true meaning of social media. Like I say here, please chat me with questions throughout the webinar. I won't be able to answer all of them. I kind of have to look at 2 screens here as I go, but I will scroll back at the end to see if I missed any. And just a shout out to those of you who already are on Twitter, and perhaps this will be basic information. Hopefully you can catch a few pointers regardless, but I want to point you to the Twitter activism webinar recording that we did back in May. You can find this recording at americanmajority.org/resources, and it's kind of the next level up. We did these in reverse. So this is the basic one. The more advanced one was the activism webinar. You can find that on americanmajority.org/resources. Yes, Jill, they are recorded. And Twitter basics. Let's just jump on in. Twitter is a powerhouse of information sharing social media network that allows 140 character messages. This is something that is often difficult to get used to, but once you get the rhythm of Twitter, you'll start just thinking in very simple, basic, quick terms. I love it, but it does take an adjustment. And I just wanted to point out that it's very large. There are 1 billion tweets every 5 days. This is a 2014 statistic, and it just shows you the massive universe of Twitter. I decided to ask my 9-year-old sister what was the difference between Facebook and Twitter, because often, what do they say, out of the mouth of babes? It's much simpler sometimes. Life is viewed in a much simpler way. So here's what she told me. Facebook is about telling what you did today, what was fun, and then you put up a picture. Twitter is writing little notes and sentences, chatting with people, and they write back. And so I think she kind of, in essence, captured what Twitter is about. And Twitter basics again. For the conservative, if you're still not convinced that you want to spend time on Twitter, I just want you to think in these 3 terms. One is to monitor national conversation. You can really use Twitter as a device to learn about what people are saying. Important people, just your average Joe, conservative celebrities, authors, political figures, things like that. So you can monitor that national conversation, and I'll show you some very easy ways to do that. And the other way is to build relationships, jump into that conversation, and then to share resources. Often I find amazing links just through Twitter by following people I respect and have come to respect over time by following them, and they share links to their blogs and articles and upcoming events that I have found very useful. Out of curiosity, how many of you discovered came across this Twitter webinar through Twitter or through social media? Anyone? Did that happen to anyone? Check in the chat window. Facebook? Okay. Awesome. Email. All right. Awesome. And I saw a chat back there asking about the time frame. We will end around 3 o'clock. It'll be a 1-hour webinar. And we will be going through this, but I wanted to just put it up front and just talk through it a little bit, and then I'll actually spend about the first half with this presentation, and in the next half I'll actually go into Twitter and show you how to do these things. A tweet is a message posted on Twitter containing 140 characters or less. A mention, and that's when you use a Twitter's username in a tweet. So, for instance, Linda Wall, I see you just chatted. If you have a Twitter account, you could chat directly to me using each other's usernames. And Linda's asking if a smartphone is necessary for tweeting. It's not, but the majority of people on Twitter do use their smartphone. It's a very quick way to just scroll through. It's an awesome app. I spend way too much time on my Twitter on my iPhone, but you do not have to use Twitter just on your iPhone. I started out with Twitter when I actually didn't have a smartphone. Retweet. This is when you pass along someone's tweet by retweeting it. It is a button that you can press, and you basically share someone's tweet with your audience. And again, this is a very brief overview. We'll get more in depth and answer more questions. A hashtag. This is something a lot of people find confusing, but it's a very exciting way for conservatives to really unite on Twitter. And this is a word or phrase of words, a string of words without any spaces that follow the hashtag symbol or pound sign. And hashtag TCOT, you may have heard of that, TCOT, stands for Top Conservatives on Twitter. That's the most popular conservative hashtag. And if you use that in a tweet, it connects you with other tweets. And we'll explain that more. Follow, follower, and unfollow. To follow someone is to follow someone on Twitter is similar to friending someone on Facebook. You're connected. And if you follow someone, you become their follower. Unfollow someone is kind of like unfriending someone. You're no longer connected to them. And there aren't direct messages on this glossary, but direct messages are private messages, and that's something that's separate from your Twitter feed. And you can then kind of think of it, if you're on Facebook, as the message section of Facebook. Yeah. And we will go back to the definitions. I see someone asked if I could put that back up. I have that screen a few times throughout this. How many of you are already on Twitter? I'm very curious as to those who are on Twitter. They know you know your username, you know your password, and you know how to log in. Okay. If anyone is on Twitter right now, I encourage you, okay, I love this mix of people. Awesome. If you are on Twitter, I wanted you to give you a little task, because some of this may be boring if you already know it. I'd love for you to shoot out a tweet telling that you're on today's webinar, and include at AM_national, that's American Majority's Twitter account, in your tweet. Here's a sample tweet. I'm learning more about Twitter from AM_national today, woo! Or, it's time to get serious about Twitter. I'm taking the next step right now with AM_national, and this is the Family Foundation's Twitter handle at TFFVA. And I'll just go ahead and move on as you're doing that. All right, for those of you who are not on Twitter, time to start paying attention. Go ahead and set up your account. This is how we do it. Twitter can be accessed on your laptop or desktop and your smartphone, and you will need to download the Twitter app on your smartphone. To sign up, you need to go to twitter.com/signup. And that is about the only URL that you will need to know in order to start with Twitter. And it's a very, very simple sign-up process. I'm just here to give you some tips as you sign up. Basically, you'll need an email, a password, and a username. This is what you will receive when you go to twitter.com/signup. You'll see a section for your name, your email address, create a password, and choosing a username. You need to put your full name. I highly encourage that. Your normal email address, and a secure password. If you want to create a really secure password, there are free secure password websites and apps that can help you do that. And then choose your username, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. Something very important, something that you will carry with you throughout your journey on Twitter. These are my tips and the username. All right, organization, I'll talk about that. I see here in the chat window people are talking about using Twitter for an organization. And here's an example. American Majority is a nonprofit, and we have our organization on Twitter, as well as each of the employees. When you're choosing a username, you want your name or the name of your organization. Unfortunately, American Majority is one letter too long, so we decided to go with AM_national. The 15 characters will be the max, and I put here @professional. Basically, you do want a professional username, something that people can remember and easily identify as yourself. So 1356 Liberty Lover is not something I recommend. So that's something that isn't just attributed to you, and something that's not that's very difficult to remember. And short is better. Remember, when people are using your Twitter handle in a tweet, that becomes part of their 140 characters. And so if you have a really long Twitter handle, people will tweet you less. These are examples: Ned Ryan, Matt Batesel, Aubrey NB, that's myself, and AM_national. I am not fortunate like my two bosses. Ned Ryan is the CEO of American Majority. He has a nice short name, as does Matt Batesel. Aubrey Blankenship did not fit, so I used my middle and last initial. Your username, I just wanted to emphasize, is the part that has the @ symbol before it. You won't include that when you're creating it, but that's how you tag usernames. Out of curiosity, how many of you all are currently in a home office or at the office? I am at the office, and I wish my desk looked clean like this, but not so much. All right, home, office, library, awesome. Oh, I'm jealous about these home offices, excellent. And what about the state? Where are you all from? I'm here in Northern Virginia. It's a beautiful sunny day. Purcellville, to be specific, Colorado, California, excellent. New Jersey, this is great, lots of variety. Love to see that. Texas, Florida, awesome. The really cool thing about Twitter is the fact that we can connect no matter where we are. Love that aspect about conservatives on social media. And I'm just going to go ahead and go right into your bio. This is one of the most important parts of your Twitter account as you set it up. And that's because people will look at it before they follow you. Your bio will tell me whether I should follow you, is it worth my time, and it will tell me what to expect from your tweets. And that, a good bio will do these things. So really think about it. You can change your bio later on. Actually tweaked my bio today as I was writing this. And think about including your likes and interests, things that you will actually talk about on Twitter. And it needs to be 160 characters or less. Took me a few times to pare mine down since I love to talk, and I'm going to give you an example here. This again is my boss, CEO of American Majority, Ned Ryan, his bio: an unapologetic conservative, married to an amazing woman, 4 beautiful kids, president of American Majority, founder of Voter Gravity, addicted to golf. And this tells me that he's a conservative, loves his family, he's founders of conservative organizations, and he also he has other interests as well. I don't encourage something like this. I care about a lot of things. Follow me to find out what they are. I see this a lot on Twitter, and it's snarky and fun sometimes, but it doesn't really entice me to follow them unless I already know them. Usernames are not case sensitive. I see a question here by Bruce. However, whatever you use when you create your username will stay there. For instance, Ned Ryan did not capitalize his N or his R, and so Twitter shows it as lowercase. American Majority, we capitalize the A and M, and it shows up as capitalized. But when people search your name or type it out, it doesn't matter. It will always find you. And I also want to mention that along with the bio, you have the option to put your location. And this, I encourage you to put your state. If you're involved in very local politics, feel free to put your city, your county, and then a website. If you're an individual, if you have a blog, or if you work for an organization and you want to highlight that there, you can put any website that you wish. Clay asks, can he set up more than one account? Yes, you can. I don't encourage you to set up 2 accounts for yourself, but you can set up accounts. I manage 5 different accounts for different organizations and myself, so there is no end. However, you do have to keep up with these accounts. A dead account is not worth very much, so think about that before you set up accounts. This is the American Majority profile. And I'm just going to go through some of the settings here. I wanted to show you how to get to the settings. Oops, sorry about that. I have smart corners on my Mac, and sometimes they move things around. All right. There's a new profile as of a few months back, and it allows you to edit your profile. Here I'm circling it just by the click of the button, and you can edit the background image, you can edit your picture, and you can edit your bio and information here. But I'm going to actually go up here to the settings symbol and hit settings. This gives you more options to edit. So that's the next screenshot shows you these options. Once you click settings, this is what you'll see. You'll see lots of options here, and I'm not going through them step by step, since some of them you don't need to change, others don't matter as much. So I'm going to just pick the ones that I think are important to know as you're setting up your account. If you have questions, let me know. Okay, the first thing I would do is go to Profile. Your name is here. Your location. As a note, you can change your name. Your location, you can change that as well. Your website, and then your bio. Up here, now we'll talk about photo, a very important part. You can go ahead and click on this and change your bio. That's the very first thing you'll want to do. I'm going to explain that now. This is a picture of the infamous egg that everyone gets right when they sign up for Twitter. And many people just leave it there. They don't want to, they want to remain kind of anonymous, since Twitter is a very public social media network, but this is not the way to do it. First of all, if you want to be taken seriously, you must change your photo, also called an avatar. You have many options to change it to. You can change to a picture of yourself, something that I recommend. An image. There's a lot of American flags out there. I don't find that super enticing to follow someone with a stock image. It doesn't tell me, keep in mind the social part of social media. It doesn't tell me anything about themselves. I see images of pets and things like that, and it doesn't interest me because I want to know that person and what they're thinking. Or a logo. If you are setting up an organization, a logo is the best thing to put. A logo without words is even better. If you have small words in a logo, they will just get smaller and people can't read them anyway. So go ahead and erase the words if they're under your logo and just put that nice, brightly colored logo on there. No eggs. I unfollow eggs. If I find that I've followed them and then I go back and there are lots of eggs in my feed, I just unfollow them. It shows me that they're not taking Twitter very seriously. Someone asked what is an egg, and that is just the default profile image that Twitter gives you right when you sign up. So I encourage you to change it right away. These are the dimensions of the images that you'll need to choose. The 400 by 400 pixels is the profile photo or avatar to replace that egg. And then you have a header, and Twitter now looks much more similar to Facebook, and it has the image to put the option to put a header there. And we put our effectivism header. We coined that term, and we love that term, and we put it in our header. for American Majority, just to show a little bit more of who we are. And I encourage you to put something that, again, explains, kind of like your bio, who you are, what you care about. Lots of headers include pictures of the state that someone lives in, or their family, things like that. I don't personally like to post pictures of my family members unless they do it themselves, especially I have younger sisters, so I don't do that on Twitter as I have a public profile, but that's something to keep in mind as well. All right, this is one thing that many conservatives care very much about, and that's privacy. You have two options when setting up a Twitter account. One is to protect your tweets or set up private tweets, and the other is to have a public profile, public tweets. And you can find this under security in that same settings section. I'm going to move to the next slide, explain a little bit more about that. Who can see my tweets? That's always the question. Public tweets, which is the default setting, you'll need to check the protected tweets if you want to change this. They're visible to anyone, whether or not they have a Twitter account. Protected tweets may only be visible to your approved Twitter followers. So for instance, if you click protect tweets, then if I want to follow you, I will click follow, and it will say pending. And that means that Twitter is waiting for you to approve my follow. My recommendation, if you are a conservative who wants to make an impact on Twitter, is to keep your tweets public. This means that people can read your feed, click your links, see your replies. If your tweets are private or protected, then all they see is your bio and name. They can't see any interactions. So I highly recommend that you use public tweets. Of course, we have to be careful with what you tweet, things like that, but I think that the potential for influence is definitely worth it. I wanted to mention the email notifications as well, because this is something that people say when they sign up for Twitter. They don't use it very often, but they're getting all of these notifications in their emails, and it's just more of a bother than anything else. So the first thing that I do is I go to email notifications and I uncheck. I have everything unchecked unless someone retweets me. I care about whether people retweet me, but if they mention me or if they follow me or unfollow me, things like that, I don't really want to know. I'll go straight to Twitter and find out myself, as opposed to getting a single email every single time that happens. It's just too much. And all we need are more emails, right? Last but not least, the design. This is not as important as it used to be, as many people use Twitter on their phone and they don't see the background design like they used to. So, but you will want to click a design. There are many pre-made themes. American Majority, we created our own theme, and we're going to actually change that soon. But you can upload any type of design that you like, but that's something that I encourage you to select. All right, now the exciting part. Back to that glossary. I know that a few of you mentioned that you wanted to see this, but the cool part now is the fact that I'm going to go on into Twitter and actually do this for you. If you have any questions as I'm showing you how to tweet and to search and mention other people, please chat me and we'll make this very interactive as possible. Okay. Let me go ahead and take a couple seconds to transition. Okay. For those of you who are already on Twitter, how often would you say you tweet a week? How often do you get on there? How often do you tweet or retweet or mention people? 0, 1, twice, 3 times. All right. Way too much. Okay, 65. Scott, you should probably be teaching this. 20. Not much, not at all. Will now? Excellent. That's what I love to hear. Okay. For a beginner, what I recommend is at least 3 tweets a day. That can seem overwhelming at first, but when you realize that you're not limited to your own crafting your own tweet, you can mention, you can thank people, you can retweet other people, it becomes much easier process. And I'm just going to answer this question of Doug. He asked, can some tweets be made private just to followers? That is, if the whole account is checked as public. Well, Doug, there's one way to make a tweet more private. For instance, if you and I were tweeting back and forth and you used my username @AubreyNB and then you asked a question or a statement, that would not show up in your feed. That would only show up in the feeds of people who followed both of us. So what I mean is, here's a tweet. This shows all of the tweets, and that would show up under tweets and replies. And a lot of people don't click this, so that's kind of a little bit more hidden. Okay, let's go ahead and just dive right into this. Up here in the right-hand corner, I went ahead and clicked compose a tweet. And this will just be an initial tweet here. Let's see, how about this? What a great day to host a Twitter webinar for conservatives. Thanks to all who are attending. All right. If you'll notice here, I have a special button many of you will not have. This is because I downloaded or a certain app. This is free. You can do it as well. If I clicked that, it would delay my tweet to a certain time. That as well. Here we go. Tweet. Okay. And here it is. Tweet shows right up here. I used a hashtag. I wasn't going to introduce hashtags yet, but here it is. We'll talk about that in a second. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just navigate my way through. I'm going to go back, sorry. Navigate through this, show you the important parts of your profile that you'll really care about. You'll see here you have your bio. This is the @ symbol with your username that identifies your username. Here, people can just click through the pictures and videos. Some people are very visual. Many people nowadays, as we know, actually a tweet with an image is 5 times more likely to be retweeted. Keep that in mind. Over here, you'll see trends. This is something, here we go, hashtag TCOT, I mentioned earlier, top conservatives on Twitter is often trending. Different subjects, you often can just, if you're up on current events, you'll know why these are trending. These are the hashtags. You can click on them, and it will bring you to a stream of other tweets that use this. Photos is always on top. You can go down and see each tweet in this stream has the hashtag TCOT. And they're connected. They become this conversation. Let's go ahead and go back. All right. Who to follow? These are based off of who you currently follow. And so it'll give you suggestions. You can follow them. You can ignore that if you like. Up here, notifications, top left. This is what you'll use a lot. And I actually check this prolifically, and it consumes way too much of my time. I'm the type of person, any of you like me, who never likes to see a notification sitting up there in Facebook or Twitter, and you want to click on it and see what is that and clear it out. It's like my inbox. I love seeing that 0, nothing. I don't want to see anything up there. So this shows me that there are three mentions or tweets or follows that I have not seen yet. Okay, right here, what a great webinar. And this was from one of our attendees. Excellent. And this is perfect because this is what I want to do next, is show you how to mention someone. I'm going to go ahead and reply. These are our different options: reply, retweet, favorite, and please ignore these. These are special that I put here. I'm going to go ahead and hit reply. This means that Serve First is going to see this reply. Thank you so much. And if I just hit tweet, only Serve First will see me. However, you'll see that many people put a period before a username. And this tells Twitter that it's not just to Serve First, it's to a general audience. And so if I put a period there and tweet it, then it will show up in my stream. It will show up for my audience. All right. Any questions about that? Let me go ahead and plug in my computer. Okay. And we can go ahead and look down here, see who followed us, different information. Cecilia Hauser, she is our Pennsylvania Executive Director. She says, looking forward to having some more followers today after AM National's Twitter 101 webinar. Well, Cecilia, here, maybe this will help you. We're going to go ahead and retweet you. I hit retweet, retweet. All right, that was pretty simple. Now we'll go ahead and go back up to our homepage here, and you can see the retweet appeared, the reply, the mention appeared, and my audience of 34.6 thousand followers can now have access to those tweets. Let's see. And I'm looking to see if there are any questions. Does reply only go to the person or to all? The reply will only be seen by the person unless you put a period before it. And then Twitter doesn't treat it as a reply. And let's go ahead and, let's see. Family Foundation. When you search for someone, like I just did, you go up here to the search bar and you can click on, I knew their Twitter handle, TFFVA. I could also search for the Family Foundation by typing their name, Family Foundation, and finding it here. Great way to find, to search for people that you know by their name, their first and last name, or by their Twitter handle. They have an awesome background here. Love that, you guys. You can see here that I'm following them. If I click on this, I'll unfollow them. And let's just go ahead and go down. These are great. I love this tweet. American Majority definitely needs to retweet this. Retweet. And go back up to notifications because I can't stand seeing that one. Oh, 18 people followed us. All right. Those are the very basics, how to tweet, how to use a hashtag, how to reply, how to tweet and retweet. Are there any questions about that? If not, I'm going to go ahead and talk about lists. All right, right here, you can see I'm hitting more, and there's a section for lists. And this is something that is a very cool way to find new people to follow. Many people who are on Twitter a lot use lists, and they organize different people that they follow, different people that they want others to follow. And here is an example of a list I've created called Staff. And I'll go ahead and click on that. This is something that you have access to through your Twitter account. It's public. Also through mine, I manage this list. You can see here a public list by American Majority. 18 members, 18 staff members, 101 subscribers. You can be one of those subscribers. You would have the option to subscribe if you were looking at it. And what it does is it shows the conversations, the tweets by our different members, by our different staff members. And then you can go ahead and click on the members and you can see. And here are different staff. This is a new leaders project, and this is specifically for those looking to find new leaders in their communities or become a new leader and run for office, love this Twitter account managed by Jayani Wood, one of my excellent coworkers. And so this is something someone said, how can you find people to follow? Finding lists, finding someone that you really enjoy and looking to see if they have a list of recommended people to follow. And the really nice part about Twitter is the fact that if you follow someone similar to you in interest, they will very often follow back. And there you go. There you have your first follower. If you follow me, Aubrey NB, I will follow you back. And there you go. So it's very much, I love that social part, the back and forth. There are some people who are very popular, very famous, who don't tend to follow other people, but that's not specifically how we're going to use Twitter. So I encourage you to follow people who are like-minded. If there's someone who tweets something that you love and you retweet it, why don't you go back and look at that tweet and see who else retweeted it? If it says 20 people retweeted this tweet, then go ahead and follow those people. Look into their accounts, and you can find like-minded people often by who's retweeting tweets. And I'm going to go back here because I see that someone asked about favorites. I forgot to mention that. I'm going to go back to a tweet. Here we have the Family Foundation tweet. You can see that it was just retweeted. We have it in green. And I could also have the option to favorite it. And this is a dual purpose function. One, I'll go ahead and hit favorite. You can see there's a star there. You can see it's colored. We've favorited it. One, it shows the Family Foundation that American Majority agrees with that tweet. We love that tweet. Thank you for that, that tweet. It also comes up here and becomes part of our favorites list. And I can go back here. Some people use it as a resource for themselves. They favorite tweets that they want to go back to. Often they favorite tweets with links. For instance, I went ahead and tweeted this out today to show you a Twitter-specific blog that we wrote, and it's about the top conservative hashtags. So if you were to look at this and say, oh, I don't have time to read this now, but I'd love to go back to it, you can go ahead and favorite this tweet, and it will show up in your favorites list, and you can go back and have that resource at your fingertips. It's a way for you to organize cool tweets that you'd like to remember. It's also a way to show the person who tweeted it, that's a great tweet, thank you. Kind of like the like on Facebook. So Andrea asked, where did you click on lists? It's under more here. It's a little bit counterintuitive. I think it used to be easier, but it's just right under more. Amy asked, can your followers see who you are following? And they can. For instance, you could just click and see, you can see who my followers are and who I am following as well. It's a really good way to, for you to find out who other people are following and perhaps follow the same people. And I'm just going to go ahead and open it up to questions. We have about a little more than 10 minutes left, and I'm going to read through here and see what questions I've missed, because I want this to be very, very useful and practical to you. Let's see here. Do you have to be careful if posting an article from the internet? Jill, I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to, but basically you are free to link to any different articles or blogs, and it's something that you want to remember that you want to add value to your the people who follow you. And so especially organizations, think about the fact that you're not here just to promote yourself, not just, for instance, I don't want to just tweet about the webinar today with American Majority's Twitter account. If I did that, it's too much self-promotion can be a turnoff, and you can lose followers and you can lose influence. And so you want to give people things that are going to be of value. Tweet links to other organizations' accounts, mention them, tweet commentary on articles, commentary on politics. Give your opinion, but also give very useful resources. Specifically think about that if you are an organization. No one wants to follow an organization who just talks about themselves. Although, on the other hand, you also, as an organization, you want to kind of give the behind-the-scenes look. Often you'll want to say, hey, this is what the team is working on, or we're all rallied around the TV right now watching football. Here's a picture. Things like that. Kind of gives you a more human side as well. And let me go ahead and look at this questions here. Okay, great question, Nikki. Is there a way for us to shorten the links? I think that's your question. If I understand it correctly, there are great ways. Okay, great. There are many, many, many tools out there that I highly recommend. I have a list of them in my other Twitter webinar, and I can send you a list. You can always email me and ask. That shorten your links, and the really, really cool part about shortened links is the fact that you can then track them later on. And I will actually go ahead and give you an example. This is bufferapp.com. And this is something that we have used, American Majority has used, and let's see, I'm just going to go down here. What we do is we actually tweet from here. We don't go into Twitter and tweet, we tweet from here. This is free, this is a free source. And I went ahead and talked about Twitter on Monday, and I can see I had no retweets, no favorites, no mentions, and no clicks. Sad day. However, this next one, Fighting for Liberty, 2 retweets, 2 favorites, and my favorite part, 4 clicks. This is really exciting because you can't normally see, you can see retweets and you can see favorites on Twitter, but you can't know how many people clicked. And so some of these, let's go ahead. Oh, this is a perfect example. This tweet had no retweets, no favorites, and no mentions. So I could look at it and say that was a dud. No one cared about that tweet, but it had 33 clicks. So people actually clicked to read it. That's something that there are many free sources like bufferapp.com that give you that option. Really, really love that. Analytics is a must. Okay, John, I will email you that list. Let's see. Robin asked, what is the best way to get more followers? And definitely following people who are similar, as I mentioned before, and mentioning different people, engaging people. When someone retweets you at first, thank them for the retweet, and often they will retweet that thank you, and then their followers see that. So if you're engaging in a meaningful dialogue with someone else, their followers can see that and then click and follow you as well. So that's one way that I often happen upon new accounts that I'd like to follow. I'm going to go ahead and look through. Jill talks about Sprout Social. That's another option for a tool, and you can use multiple accounts. Meaning, for instance, we're in Buffer, and I would have the option to add multiple accounts here, so I wouldn't have to log out, log in, log out, log in. I could just manage many accounts from one setting. That's probably what they were referring to, Jill. Nikki asked, can you delay the sending of a tweet? Like, can you schedule, like on Facebook, can you schedule it? And that is something I forgot to mention with Buffer or with any other tweet scheduler or tweet shortener, or link shortener, you can. For instance, I'll just go ahead and show you here. I'm going to go ahead and do another tweet. Great webinar. Thank you all for the feedback. And I would hit add to queue. And you'll see now that it shows up here. I've already positioned times that work well for us, and it will pop up at 3 o'clock instead of 2:53. Okay, I see a question. Does American Majority have a webinar for LinkedIn? And that's something I'm thinking about. If you would be interested, please let me know. I love LinkedIn and have been able to really interact with people on their groups there as well. So love to talk about that. So scroll up. Any last questions? Okay, good. Okay, LinkedIn, great. Okay, well, we'll definitely think about that because I love talking about that. Someone asked about cross-posting on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Do you do it? Do you do it selectively? I always, always, always think about Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube as different social media networks. So what I'm going to say on Twitter won't necessarily work on Facebook. I always rephrase no matter what I do. You can often see people on Facebook, they will have the same thing on Twitter, and there's no reason for me to follow them on both Twitter and Facebook, so they've just lost a follow. Definitely think in terms of what does the audience want on Twitter as opposed to Facebook. They're different things. We have Facebook webinars, and we talk about that at a different time. Definitely a different type of conversation. Suggestions about length, so to encourage retweets. Actually, sometimes the shorter the tweet doesn't necessarily mean that it will be retweeted more often, but you do often want it to be short enough that people can make their own comments. Often people will, I'm just going to go back to our page here so you can see this as I'm talking. Often people will want to put RT before a tweet instead of actually hitting the retweet button, and so add a little bit more text to make sure that there's enough there. I have 2 more slides I want to show you, and this is just kind of an addition if we had some time, and it looks like we have a couple of minutes. And these are different ideas on how to get started with your account. And like I said, tweeting 3 times can seem overwhelming at first, so I encourage you to really just write down the different things that you want to talk about, the different subjects that you want to use Twitter for. I do have people tell me, including my sister last night, Twitter is boring, I don't know who to interact with or who to follow, and I always say Twitter is what you make it. If you follow interesting people, if you have interesting conversations with other people, ask questions, answer questions, share information, then Twitter will become much more relevant to your goals in your life. So really think in terms of what specific issues do I want to talk about, what do I want to promote, or who do I want to find information about. That Twitter will be much more useful to you if you think in those terms. And here I have a list: national issues, things to tweet about, local issues, letters to the editor, quotes, events, links to your website and blog, images, and videos and YouTube clips. We are in a visual society, so always think in terms of what graphic can complement this, what video or YouTube clip can complement this. Ideas to increase engagement. Again, share what you know. I just mentioned that. Create and use hashtags. If you use a hashtag often, then I encourage you to put it in your bio. For instance, our Wisconsin Executive Director and his team used the hashtag WIRight, and that is a whole set of conservatives in Wisconsin. And I believe he puts that in his bio. People can automatically just keep that connection, see that he's connected with that, find him more easily. Another thing, back to the bio, I encourage you to use keywords. Often people search for people who have certain terms in their bio: conservative, Virginia, liberty, things like that. So think in terms of keywords as well. Mention people, retweet people, ask questions, answer questions. There are things such as live tweeting. Right now, we have some of you live tweeting our webinar, saying, I'm enjoying this webinar because of XYZ, or quoting or taking a picture of an event, things like that. People love the inside scoop. For instance, you're on this webinar and others weren't able to get a chance, but if they read your feed, they can see that looks exciting, I want to join that next time, or glean a little bit of information. Again, think in terms of giving as much away as possible on Twitter, really adding value to your audience's lives. hosting Twitter chats. If you are a company or business or organization, I encourage you to host Twitter chats. And I went into that a little bit more in my Twitter activism webinar, but that's an awesome, awesome idea. I'm going to go ahead and just look. We have about 2 more minutes left. I'm going to look through the questions. Please shoot me your question in these last couple of minutes, and I'll try to get to them. Yes, there will be a recording, and I will send it out to all of you probably early next week. We do have archived webinars. You can find them in our resources section at americanmajority.org/resources. Will we repeat the Twitter activism webinar? We may do that, Al. We haven't talked about that, but if there is a need, I love talking about Twitter, so I'm always up for that. Definitely let me know. In the email that you'll be receiving from me next week, I will include a survey, just 2 questions asking if you enjoyed this webinar and then if you have any suggestions for future webinars. So please include that there. John says, how can Twitter or texting, how can we count characters as we type? Thankfully on Twitter, and I'm not sure about texting, but on Twitter, it counts the characters for you. It will tell you if you are over, and it will basically not let you tweet unless you're under the limit. So I'm very thankful for that. Often I have to rewrite a tweet 2 or 3 times until I get it right. I like to talk a lot, and so Twitter takes some time to shorten some things down. And here are some suggestions on different ways to shorten your URLs. I'd love to see what tools you all use. What tools or schedulers are you using if you're already on Twitter that you'd like to share with the rest of us? Anyone use Hootsuite or TweetDeck? I see tinyurl.com. There's also just the option to go straight to Twitter, and I do that a lot. Okay, Hootsuite, great. Well, I'll go ahead and it's 3 o'clock, and I want to just go ahead and close up this webinar. I really appreciate your time and taking the time to improve your engagement on Twitter. Please keep in touch with us. We will have more webinars. Tweet us, follow us, and let us know what you thought of this webinar. Thank you for taking your afternoon. Thank you to the Family Foundation for co-hosting. Appreciate it very much.